Hi. So something I forgot to include in the first part I was going to do, and I forgot to do it. So did Eusebius ever use the word pope in his writings? And no, he did not use the word pope, but he referred to himself as bishop. Okay, and did not use the word pope. Okay. So again, just back up to what I'm saying. Uh, they picked and chose overseers. We label them a bishop. That word came from government during the time of Eusebius when the church and government merged into one. And he never referred to himself as pope. Okay, that position did not exist at that time. It wasn't until the Council of Sardica where there's a problem here. The emperor had the final say-so over doctrine, where the church recognized the need for such a position as pope to be able to break away from the state. And then after that, they took action, obviously, and they had to make it appear natural, and that's why somebody along the line fabricated that list of popes all the way back to Peter. And so this Matthew 16:18 interpretation of the Catholic Church is totally based on presuppositions and eisegesis, completely missing what's going on in Peter, the spiritual reality of Peter. All a person has to do is compare to other passages of Scripture, such as 1 John chapter 5, verse 1, to see what was actually happening to Peter, and you realize, okay, that's what the church is really built on. When a person becomes born of God, they're part of the universal church. And when I say universal church, a lot of people associate the word Catholic, but the word Catholic today does not mean the same thing. It's really referring to a denomination today, a mixture of sanctified believers and non-sanctified believers. When I say universal church, what I'm referring to is universal sanctified believers, regardless of outward label, whether Protestant, Baptist, or Presbyterian or Catholic or Orthodox. None of those outward labels apply. It has to do with the inner sanctification of a person that has experienced regeneration or a born again experience. Okay, that's what I mean by universal. Unfortunately, Catholic no longer means that today anymore. So anyway, he never used the word pope. That position did not exist during Eusebius' time. And so anyway, so again, it points heavily to the timeline that had been invented after that council took place. And then they try to make it look authentic. Again, the 4th century was not that difficult to completely rewrite church history. I know that sounds crazy at first. I understand where you're coming from. Talk to people online, it's just like, that's just a ridiculous conspiracy theory. I get it. I'm not a conspiracy theorist myself, okay? But when you ask yourself the question, how easy would it have been Eusebius, who's bishop, who was spiritual advisor to the emperor at the time, who had access to the cash collectors, and you understand the 4th century, the scrolls and papyrus and the libraries, upper class versus lower class. When you study all this stuff, lack of printing presses, block presses, no internet. When you study all this stuff, you in the church and state was involved with the scroll burnings. It wasn't just one single person. When you see that they're both involved with that, then you begin to see, okay, maybe there's a possibility that Eusebius did do a rewrite of history. And studying this and carefully going through the fine-tooth comb, that's when I realized that Eusebius did a major rewrite of history, or trying to here, or the writings contained here, an attempt to completely rewrite history. And so very few people reach that point where they're able to recognize that. And one of the key ways I was able to figure that out was trying to solve the 1st century prophecies when they were fulfilled. That was my goal. When were the prophecies actually fulfilled? What were the dates? Okay. And along the way, then I started looking at other things like Peter, and that's where you start to see there's major discrepancies here. Like, what the heck's going on? Who's lying? Who's telling the truth, and all that? So I conclude that Eusebius is not a reliable source at all. And unfortunately, you have scholars like Ed Stevens, bright, sharp guy. I commend his hard work. Unfortunately, when you study his work, he's been fooled by Eusebius. And he had fooled many people. And I wish I had a time machine where I could go back and told Ed Stevens, hey, Ed, this is not a reliable source. And here's why. And I guarantee you he would have had a much better chance with having a true working timeline where the dates actually work. So as far as I know, I'm the only one in history that so far that has a true working two-scale timeline. I have not come across another one yet, where you're back checking software travel time, how long it takes to travel, and number of days, whatever, and figure out that that fits within the number of days in the timeline, okay, and all that. I've already done all that, and as far as I know, nobody else has. I'm not trying to. I could probably come across prideful when I say that. I get people to naturally associate that with pride. I'm actually a pretty humble individual. I'm not prideful. I'm actually stunned that nobody else has been able to get this far. As far as solving the dates like I have. It'd be nice to see other people take a stab at it. Purchase drawing software and carefully piece this stuff together. I would love to see what you come up with. But I've mentioned out to public, and it just seemed like it falls on deaf ears. I've yet to see anybody else done what I've done, and where I can look at their work and compare. It'd be nice if somebody else does that, but it just seems like most people, I don't know, you have to really have a strong desire for truth in dates, associating with dates to do that. And I just find that most people are just not that way. Most believers are not that way. Most Christians are not that way. They're just not. They just kind of take what they hear. Oh, it sounds good to me. I'll go with that, and that's it. So as you can imagine, I'm taking this pretty seriously. So anyway, yeah. So there was no such position at the time that Eusebius was writing this. Okay, there's no such thing as Pope at the time. All right, thank you very much for watching. That's all I have to say, and hope you have a great day. Thank you.